My name is James, and what I'm about to say is something I never thought I would do. I was a simple man who didn't think much about what happens after death, but everything changed one day like any other. I came very close to dying, which really scared me. I passed away, but I wasn't gone. I went into a world that felt so real and big that I can still feel it in my bones. And what Jesus told me about the strange M mark on our hands is something I think everyone needs to hear. This is my story. It was just another day. There were no signs or warnings. I felt fine when I woke up and went about my day. I had no idea that my life was about to change in a big way. I had just finished lunch and was sitting at my desk when I felt dizzy for no reason. I had trouble seeing, and all of a sudden, I felt pain in my chest. My heart was racing and everything went dark in an instant. I could hear voices nearby, far away but pressing. When my name was yelled, I felt like I was slipping away. Even though my body was still in that room, I wasn't there anymore. It felt like flying without any weight, but I was still aware of everything going on around me. The sounds got quiet, and I felt like I was underwater. I breathed more slowly, and there was a cold silence around me. After that, there was quiet, a deep silence that never ends. I knew I had passed away. I should have been scared, but instead I felt a calm that was unlike anything I had ever felt before. I didn't feel scared or hurt. All I felt was a strange, reassuring presence. When I looked around, all I saw was darkness that went on forever. At that very moment, a soft, warm light appeared in the distance. I had never seen a light like that before. Even though it didn't hurt my eyes, I couldn't help but move toward it. I was not strolling. I wasn't going to run. I was just going toward something I didn't understand. After that, everything changed. The darkness behind me went away as soon as I stepped into the light. I was no longer flying. I had my feet up. The air around me felt different, like it was almost alive and warm. A strange event was about to happen even though everything was calm. When I looked down, I saw that the clothes I had died in were no longer on me. I wasn't in my body the way I usually was. I didn't feel heavy at all. I just felt lighter. That's when I saw something strange. There was no discomfort or pain, just a deep sense of peace. After that, I saw them. Figures standing far away that are softly shining. They weren't people, but they weren't strange either. I could feel them more than I saw them. They gave off a pure vibe, love, understanding, and a deep awareness of who I was. They didn't judge me. They just made me feel welcome in a way I couldn't explain. As I moved forward one more step, the light got brighter, almost like it was hearing me. After that, my name was called by a voice that went straight into my heart. James. It was strong, deep, and full of love I had never felt before. That's when I saw him. Someone stood in front of me and gave off the clearest light I had ever seen. His eyes were unlike anything else in the world. They were full of endless knowledge, kindness, and a power that shook me to my core. There was no question in my mind that it was Jesus. I was so shocked that I fell to my knees. I was unable to speak. I knew even though he didn't say anything. I was about to learn things about my life that I had never thought possible. Things began to change for me as I looked at Jesus. I stood in a space that grew and stretched into something that went beyond time. I had never seen colors swirl and pulse like those in the light tube that formed behind him. It wasn't just white people, it was alive and had shades of blue, gold, and other colors I can't even explain. It pulled on me, but I wasn't scared. I instead felt like I was being invited, and I knew I had to say yes. When Jesus pointed to the tunnel, everything around me went away as soon as I took a step forward. I was moving, but my feet weren't. I felt like I was being carried by the light itself through a place where time didn't exist. As I moved, I saw bits and pieces of my past, not just memories but also events that had shaped me. I saw every choice I had made, every action I had taken, and every word I had ever spoken. I could feel how heavy they really were. There were times when I felt warm and times when my soul hurt. It was not a verdict, it was clear knowledge. The tunnel was more than just a street. It was a big surprise. I realized that everything I had done and everyone I had talked to had had effects that were much bigger than I had thought. Kindness and love had spread in ways I didn't know, but my mistakes had also done that. I saw the pain I had caused, even in small, careless ways, and I realized that we are all responsible. The light got brighter at the end of the tunnel. I knew what I was about to see would make me question everything I thought I knew about life, death, and God's plan. I was standing in a huge, empty space as soon as I came out of the tube. It wasn't a spot. It was like being there. There was music, but no instruments were being played, and the air was sparkling with golden light. It felt like the air around me was singing. Then I saw them, beings of light that gave off an energy I can't describe. They were not human, but they were also not alien. Their faces were kind, wise, and full of feelings that were not of this world. In my heart, I knew they were angels. One of them spoke up, and even though they didn't use words, I could understand them completely. You were brought here to see and understand. I agreed, but I had no idea what I was about to see. As soon as the angel raised his hand, a huge, rushing river of light appeared in front of us. It went on and on, weaving through time itself. I understood it was the link between souls, the very core of the human journey. Every deed, act of kindness, and moment of love was woven into this river, shaping everything that is. The angel told me, "Everything you do is important." Even a small act of love can send shockwaves through time and space. Their words hit me hard in the soul. Something much bigger than anything I had seen or heard before filled the space before I could ask anything else. Jesus was standing there and watching me. He looked at me with a caring and knowing look on his face, and I knew that what he was going to say next would really shock me. I was still as a statue. Jesus was right in front of me, and I felt like I could not breathe. He was more than just light. He was also strength, love, and peace. When he looked into my eyes, I felt like I was fully seen. He knew everything about me, including my background, my mistakes, and my fears. But I didn't feel judged. I only felt love. And even though he hadn't said anything yet, I could hear his voice inside me. "Jacob, there's a reason why you're here." I tried to talk but couldn't find the words. I could only listen. When Jesus raised his hand, the space around us changed all of a sudden. It looked like the whole world was folding, showing me layers I hadn't seen before. A golden light shimmered behind him, making shapes I couldn't quite understand yet. Then he did something strange. He put out his hand and grabbed mine. From the moment his fingers met mine, I felt warm all over. Beyond the body, there was a deeper awareness of what was going on. I looked down and saw a mark on my palm that I had never really paid attention to before. The M on my hand, which I had seen on other people all my life, was glowing with a light from another world. Jesus gave me a soft smile, and I knew he was about to tell me something important that most people don't know. The faint M shape on my hand had always been there, but I never really thought about it. I thought it was just a crease and an accident. But as I stood in front of Jesus and watched it light up with holy energy, I knew it meant something much more important. As Jesus carefully traced the mark on my hand, images came flooding back to me. I saw prophets, healers, and religious fighters from all times who all had the same mark on them. It wasn't a coincidence, it was a divine imprint, a signature given to people who are supposed to do something bigger. Jesus said in a voice that echoed deep in my soul, "This mark is a sign of those who have been chosen to carry the light. Those who bear it have been given the duty to lead, love, and heal." My knees started to hurt. But why me? My voice was barely above a whisper as I asked. Christ smiled. "Many people don't see this gift, but you were picked before you were born. They don't pay attention to it, dismiss it, or live without knowing what it's for. I had a deep understanding hit me. How many times did I dismiss the soft voice in my heart? How many times have I tried to forget times when I could have loved and helped someone but didn't? Jesus went on, "This mark is not for power or pride, because I want those who are meant to walk in love and truth to keep my word." I had tears in my eyes. I had spent my whole life looking for meaning, but I didn't know that it was right there in front of me the whole time. The air around us changed as soon as Jesus spoke those words. I thought time was bending because I felt like something was moving. Then everything stopped, and a huge screen of light showed up in front of me. I saw my whole life play out in front of me, moment by moment. Not just the big events, but also the little ones. The times I had smiled at a stranger, helped a friend feel better, and even the thoughts I had hid. It wasn't like getting to see a show. I could feel everything. Everything I said and did had meaning. I could feel the warmth flow through time when I was kind. It went far beyond what I had imagined. Because I was careless and hurt other people, even if I didn't mean to, I felt their pain as if it were my own. One moment stood out. There was a time when I had missed someone in need because I was too busy with my own things. I saw how sad and alone they were. Finally, I got it. Even the tiny choices we make do matter. Jesus just stood there next to me and watched. His words were not meant to make you feel bad. It's meant to teach you. Jacob, everything you do makes waves. Everything you say, do, and even think. I had tears running down my face. I didn't know how linked we all were until now. Every person and every event was a part of something bigger. The review finished just as quickly as it had begun. As the light went out, Jesus looked at me with a look that was both kind and tough. There was a weight on me that wasn't a problem, but an understanding. Every moment of my life had a purpose, even the ones I had ignored or written off. I used to think that what I did only touched me, but now I saw the truth. When Jesus made, another sign, another vision appeared. Something changed the way I saw the world. Everything I had done, everyone I had met, and every chance I had missed to love. I saw how one kind word could make a big difference in someone's life. I saw how one mean word could break someone's heart. It was too much to handle. I felt my voice shake as I looked at Jesus. How can anyone stand this? What kind of life is that? As soon as Jesus put his hand on my shoulder, I felt at peace. He told her, "You were never meant to be perfect. You were meant to love. That is the most important rule." His words hurt me very much. Love. Love was always at the center. Not accomplishments, money, or even know-how. Love only. Why did I miss something so easy? There was a strange sense of urgency in me. I wanted to change things, live with meaning, and be aware of what I said and did. Was it too late, though? I looked at Jesus to find out what to do. He just smiled. I knew right then. I was still not done. I stood still and let everything sink in after seeing my life review. Every choice I made and every word I spoke was important. I looked at Jesus with a lot of questions in my head. We still make mistakes, so why does everything seem to be linked? Why do we hurt other people? Jesus looked at me with a lot of kindness. You can choose for yourself. The words kept going through my mind. Freedom of choice. I had known about it my whole life, but I never really got it. Jesus went on, "You were not made to be controlled. You can only really love someone if you choose to." I thought about those words for a while. He was right. It wouldn't be real if we had to be good, kind, and loving. The hard times, the failures, and even the dark times were all part of the trip. All of them were chances to choose love. When Jesus raised his hand, I saw a huge group of people. Some were lost in pain, some were stuck in anger, and some were looking for a reason to live. They could all do something. Some picked love. Some people chose fear. Still, there was always a time and a chance to turn toward the light. That's when I understood that free will was both a gift and a duty. We're not living only for ourselves. What we do changes the world around us. God spoke to me again and said, "What you do with your free will is what makes you who you are." For the first time, I knew that every moment was a chance to be kind, love, forgive, and help others. It was not about being perfect. It was about the choices we make every day, and I knew I still had choices to make. As soon as Jesus pointed forward, I was no longer standing in that empty place. I wasn't there at all. I was somewhere else. The air was full of life and bright light. I felt a warmth that was unlike anything else I had ever felt. It wasn't just a spot, it was a force, a presence. I knew right away that this was heaven. It wasn't the sky I was used to. I couldn't even explain the colors that made it go on and on. Something deeper, like the hum of creation itself, could be heard in the air. It wasn't music. The peace was so great it's hard to describe. After that I saw them, people, some of them I knew right away, people I loved who had died before me. They looked better, younger, and happier than ever. I didn't know some of them, but I could feel their love and link to me. A man with a warm smile walked up. He was my grandfather, and I lost him when I was a kid. He hugged me without saying a word, and all the years of missing him and wishing for him just went away. I was so upset that I turned to Jesus. "Are we in eternity?" I asked. He said, "Yes, this is home. Everyone who chooses love will come back here." I might have stayed there for a long time. It was like nothing else in the world, peace and happiness. But deep down, I knew and felt a pull. I wasn't done with my journey yet. Jesus gave me a knowing look. "There's more for you to do." I did not want to go, but I knew in some way. I had seen all of this for a reason. I was shown heaven for a reason, and I was about to find out what it was. Something moved inside me as I stood in the beauty of heaven. There was a growing sense of understanding and purpose. The way Jesus looked at me made me feel like he knew me. "Jacob, you have had a look, but your time here is not yet over." There was a weight in my chest. I did not wish to return. How could I go back to the problems of earth after being at such peace with God? I had seen and felt the love of heaven. How could I decide to leave? But Jesus moved closer, and I felt warm just being with him. Some people are still looking for them and are still lost. Your words will shine a light for them. I saw glimpses of the future, people I hadn't met yet, and souls who were dealing with doubt, fear, and loss. I saw how my story and words could point them to God and hope. My eyes were filled with tears, but I'm not 100% good. I'm not sure if I can do this. Christ smiled. Not being perfect was never the point. It was about being ready. All of a sudden I knew. Heaven wasn't the only reason I was sent here. There was always a way back to love and God, no matter how lost people felt or how many mistakes they had made. That's why I was sent to give its word to other people. I took a big breath. I told her, "I'll do it." The light around me then started to change. Heaven began to fade, and I felt like I was being pulled back to the life I thought was over. It was an instant change. For a moment, holy light was all around me. The next thing I knew, I was panting for air, and my chest hurt when I opened my eyes. I came back. Voices yelling were all around me. "He's taking in air. He's back." My hand was being held by someone. No one was more shocked than my family and doctors. I had been away, but I was back now. My mind had a hard time processing everything as my body got used to it. Was it all a dream? Seeing things? I knew in my heart that it had been real, more real than anything else I had ever felt. Then, when I raised my hand, I saw it, the M mark that Jesus had shown me on my palm. My eyes were filled with tears. I understood what it meant now. I was sent back for a reason. I wasn't just supposed to live. And I was supposed to share what I had seen and what Jesus had shown me. I was supposed to remind people that life isn't just about what we see, but also about what we feel. I shut my eyes and said a quiet prayer. Lord, thank you for sending me back. As I lay there getting better, one thought kept going through my mind. I'd change into something else. What happened after coming back? Getting up was like going to a different world, but I was still in the hospital room where my body had been fighting to stay alive. It was seen as a miracle by the doctors. Even though my heart had stopped for a while, I was still living. My family gathered around me, looking at me with eyes that were both happy and confused. But I knew what was true. I wasn't the same person who had died. I felt something different as soon as I opened my eyes. The world looked the same, but I was different inside. The light, the love, and the message were all things I would never forget. It felt like the M mark on my hand had a reason that I was just starting to understand. Some people asked me what I could remember. At first, I wasn't sure. What could I say to explain something so important? But then I understood why I had been sent back. I finally told them I saw Jesus. The room went quiet. Some looked at me in awe, while others were not sure what to think. It didn't matter, though. There was something I knew I had to do after what I had been through. After that, my life wasn't just living anymore. It was about doing something bigger than myself. It was my mission. I had been to heaven, and I had talked to Jesus. I wasn't going to waste it. I was scared the first time I told other people about my near-death experience. Would people believe me? Would they think I was crazy? But as soon as I started to speak, the words came out easily, like Jesus had put them in my heart. I told Jesus my story, including how I died suddenly, the path of light, the angels, and the moment I stood in front of him. I talked about the review of my life, how important decisions are, and the love that was all around me in heaven. But the M mark on my hands was what really caught people's attention. People began to examine their own hands and follow the lines that were there, all along but had been missed. As some cried and whispered prayers, they felt like they were connected to something bigger than themselves. I knew then that this wasn't just my story. It was a lesson for all of us. The mark wasn't a mistake Jesus had shown me. It was a message, a call, and a sign that we were meant to be here. We were picked to show love, lead others, and shine a light in the dark. As soon as I was done speaking, people came up to me and told me about their own divine meetings. I wasn't by myself. It wasn't just me on this trip. It was ours. That's when I knew I would tell this story for the rest of my life. My near-death experience happened years ago, but I can still remember it like it was yesterday. Every day, I think about what I saw, how I felt, and what Jesus told me the first time. There is still the M mark on my hands, just like there was before. I no longer see it that way. It's more than just a mark on my face. It's a sign of the job I was given. It is their job to remind people that God exists, that love is the most important thing, and that heaven is not just a faraway place, but a real place ready for those who choose it. There are thousands of people I've met who have told me about their own meetings with God. Many people had never seen the mark before, but everything changed when they did. It was like God had kept a word from them for them to find. Some people ask me, "Why did you get to see this?" I don't know everything, but I do know this. He didn't show me these things so I could keep them to myself. I got them back from him so I could tell everyone about them. Now, please look at your hands. Can you see it? The M that's been there all along? It's not a mistake. This is a warning, a sign that you are loved, something to tell you that you are meant for more, to tell us that heaven is real and Jesus is ready to welcome us. We will understand when the time is right and we finally step into that light. Love, purpose, and faith are what we need to live by until then. We were never meant to go on this path by ourselves. People from all over the world sent me letters, emails, and notes after I shared my story. Some people told me that the M mark on their hands had always made them feel special, but they didn't know what it meant. Others talked about their own close calls with death and described the same light and great love. I came to a strong conclusion. It wasn't just my story. It was a big part of something else. People from all walks of life, religions, and countries had the same mark on them, a divine imprint that was put there before they were born. A lot of them were looking for answers, just like I was. A young man came up to me after one of my talks one day. He had tears in his eyes. It seemed like I was meant to do something, but I never knew what it was. He told her, "After hearing your story, everything makes sense now." That's when I knew this was bigger than I thought. The M wasn't just a mark. It was a call, a warning that we're not just here to stay alive. We're here to love, help, and shine a light in a world that feels dark a lot of the time. I saw the word of Jesus spread like never before as more and more people became aware of the truth. It wasn't until I came close to dying that I really thought about the spiritual world. Even though I believed in God, I never really knew how He was there for me. I never thought that I was a part of His great plan. However, I could never go back to the person I was before I met Jesus, saw heaven, and learned the truth about the M mark. Sharing what I had seen and learned was all I did with my life. I talked anywhere people were willing to listen, like churches, community groups, and even online. It wasn't about getting people to agree. It was just about being honest and letting them feel it for themselves. Someone asked me, "How do I know if I'm here for a reason?" I always gave the same answer. There is a reason you are here. I wasn't sent back by Jesus to keep this word to myself. He told me to go back and tell people that we are all linked, that love is the most important thing, and that we are never really alone. And every time I looked at my hands and followed the lines that made up that mysterious M, I felt the weight of that mission. It was a mission I would carry until the day I died, which is the end of this message.